Is it possible to buy property in Australia with no money? My name's Thomas O'Regan. I'm a buyer's agent and I help people buy properties to become financially free. Okay, so the answer to that is yes, it is possible to buy properties in Australia with no money. And the best way to do it is with a guarantor. Find someone that you trust, that trusts you, that has property already, and they have equity in their property that they are willing to lend you to get your foot in the door and buy property. Guys, the thing about property is this day and age, it is so hard to save for a deposit to buy a property. Living costs are so high, they're through the roof. Saving an extra $100, $200 a week is almost impossible for some people. And even if you were to save $200 a week, by the time you save up for a deposit, the price of the property will have grown so much that the deposit you were saving for isn't even enough to buy the property anymore. Okay? So what's the solution? Okay, the solution is buy property with no money, okay? You need to form relationships. You need to make networks with people that can help you buy property. There's plenty of people in Australia that own property, have equity in property, and don't know what to do with it. You know, homeowners, people that have owned their property for 5, 10 years, 2 years, whatever, most likely have equity in their property. You want to make a deal with these guys and get them to lend you this money so you can get your foot in the door in property. Once you have the property is going to be growing in value, okay? That's what the things do. That's what properties do. That's why everyone buys property in Australia, because they always grow. And once the property grows, you can pay back that person that you lend the money to. Me, personally, when I buy property, it doesn't grow in value, but I buy properties under market value, so I'm able to extract equity out of the properties that I purchase from the day that I buy them. So if I was borrowing money from a family member, say, through equity, say I was buying a $500,000 property, right? And I needed a 20% deposit, and I said to my mum, hey, can you give me $100K and I will pay you back? I would buy a property under market value, get that equity release as soon as possible. 2 weeks, guys. Get an equity release in 2 weeks, buying the property under market value and pay my mum back in a 2-week period. And I don't think that she would be too fussed about that. And the thing is, like, if I hadn't done this to build my own property portfolio, I wouldn't know and I wouldn't understand and it wouldn't make any sense. But the fact is, this is the way I have been able to build my property portfolio to the next property, the next property, the next property so quickly, because I've created this formula where I get the equity back as soon as possible. Okay, so I'm not really worried at all. And to be honest, if I wanted to be a whole lot risky, which I absolutely would not recommend to anyone ever, but me personally, if I was starting again and it was just me and my wife and I was starting again, sorry, my dog's just losing his shit over there, and we were starting again, I would get a loan, a personal loan, and use that as the deposit to buy a property, and we would buy the property in my wife's name, and then we would do an equity release and pay their loan out, okay? So is it possible to buy property in Australia with no money? The answer is yes, and you just need the knowledge to get it done. All right, guys, cheers, bye.